Hi everyone, it's Jules. Welcome to Jules Journals, and this is my weekly reading recap for today is Sunday, August 11th of 2024. In these videos, I like to talk about the books that I finished this week, any books I'm currently reading, anything I want to read, any books I might have hauled, which I do have, I think 6 books, and then anything I watched on TV or movies, anything we did personal, and plans that are coming up this week. So let's get started. And first of all, thank you so much for the support and the kind messages in the comments on my previous video where I shared what's been going on with me this year and the future of this channel. I really appreciate you guys so much, and it means the world to me, and you did make me cry a little bit, but it just really warmed my heart, and I did write down a lot of the comments in my journal because they meant so much to me. So I really do appreciate it. And so this is really my first video on this channel that's not collaging, journaling, paper related. It's more book related. I'm going to have a combination of all of the things I love to do, but just have them in one spot to make my life easier. So if you don't like book content, you can just not watch it, but maybe it'll inspire you to read something that you didn't think that you wanted to read. All right. So books I finished, I did actually finish 2 this week. I did them both on audio, which I think is why I was able to get them finished. And one is Cat's Eye by Margaret Atwood. And this was my in real life book club pick for July. I had never read Margaret Atwood before, and we pick a theme in our book club. We pick a theme for the next person to pick from. So like this person's theme to pick a book from was from the year she graduated high school, which I think was 1988. And so this is the book, it had to be published in that year. So this is the book that she picked. And I liked it. It was okay. The audio was fine. There's just not a lot that happens in it. I was expecting more Handmaid's Tale kind of dystopian, but not that at all. And it's about a woman who is kind of reminiscing about her childhood and growing up and adolescence and her friendships that she had. And they were kind of, she was kind of bullied, and she has this one, she was considered her best friend, but she was kind of a bully. And so her kind of realizing how bad of a friend this person was. And she's an artist, so just talking about kind of looking at her art. There's just not a lot that happens, and it's kind of a big book, so it was okay. It's not deterring me from reading another Margaret Atwood, but I was surprised I didn't like it more. The next book I completed is Fight Club by Chuck. Oh, it's upside down. I can't, it would just butcher that. So, and I really liked this. I did the audio. The audio was great. I liked it more than the movie. The movie, for me, is a little bit confusing. I understood what was happening more in the book, and maybe it was because I had seen the movie. I'm not sure. But you are more in the narrator's mind, and I'm just jumping on his name right now. I can remember Tyler's name. If you know, you know. Does it never say his name? I can't remember. But you're in his head, so you know, but you better understand what's happening. And this was Chuck's first, it was his debut novel, which I did not realize until I was looking up information on it. And the writing is great. There's some lines in there that made me laugh out loud. It is very dark and gritty and violent. Obviously, it's called Fight Club. So if that bothers you, I would definitely not read it. But it is very similar to the movie as well if you've seen the movie. But I enjoyed it. I had a good time. And I'm glad I finally read it because our in real life book club, our name is Fight Club because we think it's funny to call a bunch of women in their 40s and 50s call it Fight Club. So, but I hadn't read it yet. So that was great to get that one read. So I'm in the middle of 3 books. One I'm doing on audio, the other 2 I'm physically reading. The one on audio is Salem's Lot by Stephen King. I'm really liking it. It is it's a vampire story. And in the beginning, Stephen King gives a pretty big introduction, and I definitely read the introduction if you're going to read this. I've heard Stephen King say this is where to start with his books, not at the beginning with Carrie, but with this book. And I'm really liking it. I like vampire stories, but I haven't read too many of them. I like vampire movies. I'm not too far into it, but I am enjoying that one so far. And then I'm still reading The Mad Women's Ball by Victoria Moss. And this is about insane asylum psychiatric hospital in the late 1800s in Paris. I'm about a third of the way through. I am enjoying it. I just have not had time this week to actually physically read, which is why I was glad to have the audio, because I had a lot of commutes this week, so I could listen to it while I was driving. But I'm enjoying it. It's great writing. It is a pretty quick read too. I just haven't had the time to dedicate to getting it finished. And then Anne Cleeve's The Seagull I'm still reading, not very far into it. And this is one that my husband picked up for me when he was on a motorcycle trip, and he went to a local bookstore and talked to the owner and picked this book out, which I was shocked that he picked a book that I don't own or was not interested in reading. I had never heard of this. And I did start the TV show Vera, I think it's on BritBox, but I didn't want to read or watch it too much because I don't want to spoil this story. But this story is not the first in this series, but I've heard that you don't have to read them in order. But I'm enjoying it. Vera is very sassy and a little crunchy. You know, she's like this older detective woman, and I really like her spunky attitude. What I want to read is really just those, finishing those up, and books I hauled. All right. So the first one kind of has an interesting story. My friend and I went to a town about 90 miles from where we live. Very, very cute town along the river in Wisconsin. And then we stopped at another town on the Minnesota side on our way back, and we went to a local bookstore. It's a used bookstore. And we weren't really finding anything that we wanted to buy. And we were about to walk out, and the owner kind of stops us and says, "Are you guys, is this your first time in this store?" We're like, "Yep." He's like, "Oh, well, the first time anybody comes into this store, I like to gift them a free book." So we're like, "Oh." He's like, "That's great." And he said, "What do you like to read?" And I said, "Well, I really like Stephen King. I really like coming of age stories, like Stephen King." And he's like, "Stephen King doesn't write coming of age." I'm like, "He certainly does. Like It, that's a coming of age story." So I was a little like, "Yes, he does." But so he picked this book for me. I don't know if I'll ever read it, but it's Angela Thirkell, The Headmistress. The author was from the late 1800s, I believe, or she was born in the late 1800s, so this is probably the early 1900s. Oh. But it was such a nice gesture, and him spending time in the store trying to find a book that I would like. He picked one for my friend as well, and she did buy a book as well, so I kind of felt good that we bought something. But I'm not sure if I'll read it, but it definitely is going to hold a place on my shelf because that's a special memory. The other one, I actually ordered it from Amazon, which I try not to do too much, but it was really cheap on Amazon. It's There by Tommy Orange. His new book, Wandering Stars, I think it's called, was just longlisted for the Booker Prize. And I had not read this book, and I've heard it's fantastic. It is a Native American story, and I don't know much more beyond that. So I picked that up. I want to say it was $9 or $10. I love matte covered books. This next book is actually our book club pick for August, and that is For the Wolf by Hannah Witten. And it has deckled edges, which I love. And it has the, what do we call these? Something flaps. And the theme for this was a fairy tale retelling. And so this is the book that was picked, and I think it's well, it looks like Red Riding Hood. And there's a wolf. I think it's a Red Riding Hood retelling. And then the other book I picked up at Barnes & Noble is Frankenstein. I do have another copy of this, but it's the kind of, it's fake leather bound, the Barnes & Noble edition, which I really love that edition. I love that material. And I want to read this again and annotate it. So I didn't want to annotate that version, so I wanted my own version that I could annotate. So I picked that up. And last year I had started Frankenstein. I didn't finish it. And people are like, what? It's one of the best books. So I know I need to finish that. This book I heard about, it's called A Botanical Daughter by Noah Medlock. I have a ring light on because it gets so dark in here. But that's why there's the glare, why I'm saying that. I heard about this from Willow's channel, Willow Talks, Willow Books and Bow. I can't remember their channel, but their channel name. And I heard about this from them, and it looks fantastic, and I will look into that. This would be a good, I have a stack over here of books to read during spooky season, September, October, November. I think I might just put this over here and add that to my pile. I think I have about 12. The other one I've been hearing fantastic things about, and it has really good ratings, is The God of the Woods by Liz Moore. I believe this takes place in the Appalachians, and a girl disappears. That's about all I know about it. But yeah, that's a good little. And all of those I got at Barnes & Noble. All right, what I watched on TV? Well, I watched Horrible Bosses. Still funny. I really enjoy the humor in Horrible Bosses, and it's a great cast. So many people in that movie, and like seeing Donald Sutherland in that was great. So I rewatched that movie. I think it's on for free on one of the streaming services. And then I've been just going back and watching some old shows I used to watch. I tend to do that, and then I'll have YouTube on my phone. But I've been watching True Blood and The Tunnel. Now, you probably heard of True Blood. That's a vampire story. And actually, that book that it's based on is sitting over there for me to read. But the other one, The Tunnel, you may not know about. It's actually, there's 3 different versions of the show. One is the original Swedish or German. There's an American one, and then there's this French-British one. I think it's a BBC one. Well, this French, I like the French-British one. There is a dead body that's found in the tunnel that goes from Paris over to London or the UK, underneath the water, the tunnel. There's a body found, and it's half on the French side and it's half on the UK side. And it's actually, yeah, I don't want to say too much about it, but they have to team up and investigate this. It's very dark and a little eerie, and it's really good. I like it. The American version was okay, and it takes place like, maybe it's Juarez, and they're half in Mexico, half in the US. And I have not even watched the original one, so I'm not sure which countries that one involved. So those are the shows I'm watching. What I did this week was a lot. We played trivia. I went to that town. I took a day off of work and went to this town over on the Wisconsin side. It's called Stockholm, Wisconsin. It was so cute. It's a beautiful area along the bluffs by the river. It's just a, rolling hills and large bluffs and trees and windy roads. So pretty. And they're cute, adorable shops and a pie shop that was delicious. And what else did I do? Oh, I played pickleball and had brunch this morning and went and saw my dad today. Saw my dad this week on Wednesday. And then I also kayaked as well. So much. And then also a full-time job. So that's why there's no room for reading right now. And when I do have the space, I'm too tired. Plans this week? Not as much as last week, which is good. I know we'll probably play trivia, but that is about all I can think of. I think we have a double date on Friday night with a friend that I have not seen in a while, so that'll be fun. I think that's about it. All right, let me know what you've been reading. If you read anything fun recently that you enjoyed, I would love to hear it, and I hope you guys have a great week.